So today we're gonna talk about the difference between being alone and loneliness. Maybe you know the difference. Maybe you already experienced both of them, or maybe you only experienced one of them and you don't know what's the difference between these two. Because sometimes people say that I'm alone or I feel lonely, and that's when people start to think subjectively because not everyone knows the difference between these two terms. The difference is when you are alone, that's uh, that's like actually when you are alone, meaning that you are by yourself. It doesn't involve much from the emotional side. It doesn't involve much of emotions and feelings because it's only describing the fact that you are, in fact, alone. You're by yourself in a room with no one else. Maybe you're studying, maybe you are working, maybe you are reading, maybe you whatever you're doing, you are by yourself. At least that's how I define being alone. Lonely, on the other hand, loneliness. When you feel alone, that's already an emotion, a feeling. So it doesn't matter. Well, it kind of does, but it's not determined by whether you are alone or not. You could be surrounded by people, all right? Like with families, friends, just someone that you can talk to, co-workers, classmates, whatever, right? You could be surrounded with people, but you can still be lonely or feel lonely because it comes from within. It's not the external factors. It comes from within. And this feeling comes from a place where you don't feel, again, feeling, you don't feel like anyone's on your side, right? No one's being supportive, no one's helping you, no one's having a conversation with you in a way that you want them to, and no one's going out with you or having or doing the things that you want, and no one is, I don't know, making you feel good, or in general, just make you feel like you have spent the time in an amazing way, in a way that it was great, right? It's memorable. You were happy, you were smiling, you were laughing, you were having a good time, right? Again, all of these are based off your feelings, all of them. Like I said before, lonely is mostly comes from within. It's an emotion that you feel. Doesn't matter what's the external factors. Doesn't matter what's your environment, surroundings. Well, it does contribute a little bit to what you're feeling, but still, uh, most of the times, if you feel like this, doesn't matter if you are surrounded with people or you actually are alone. Or if you are alone, sometimes it's less likely to feel lonely. And I'll explain why. I've spent my whole life feeling lonely. My whole life. But I was surrounded with people. I have my parents. I have families. Friends, well, not that much. But just a bit, just a few. But I did have people that I can talk to. However, the reason why I still felt lonely was because I felt no one was on my side. No one was going to be there for me no matter what. No one's going to tell me what I wanted to hear or what I needed to hear. No one was there to comfort me. No one was there to help me in, I don't know, on an emotional level, right? No one was there to, no one was there to be there for me. I do have my caring parents. I love my parents, of course, but it their way of raising me before I was 18, all those years, it was not easy to accept. Let's put it that way. Of course, now they've changed, and I've also changed. I'm no longer hold that kind of grudge against them because I start to see where they come from and all the things that they did for me. They could have used a little bit different input, but hey, it is what it is. Friends, on the other hand, I didn't have any trusting friends. I didn't have anyone that I can actually connect and emotionally or just on a whole new level where you feel it's right with that person, right? I've maybe only met like 2, 3 people like that in my life. And of course they're no longer around. They're not dead, they're just no longer around. And so it's like that for a very long time for me, where I had people around me. Right? I could potentially talk to them. If I wanted to, I would. But I wouldn't get the result that I wanted. I wouldn't exactly feel like it was a conversation. I felt like it was just me speaking to someone so I don't think I was alone or I was all by myself and lonely, and it was not a conversation. It was not a friendship. It was a transaction of values. You speak to someone so you don't feel lonely, but it's not exactly friends. So loneliness can happen a bunch of times. And it can happen or it can exist for a very long period of time. No one's guaranteed when it's gonna stop, how long it's gonna last. I've made videos, I've made some short videos giving out advice and stuff, and some people, I see the comments and they were like, those videos were basically talking about like this phase called lonely chapter, right? You're not gonna be able to find someone that you can talk to, meaning that you can have people that you can talk to, but you don't feel that you can connect with them. No one that can, those people that can understand you, you haven't found them yet. Your lifestyle does not really match with those current friends that you have right now, or so-called friends. And in general, you are just alone and you feel lonely at the same time because it's most of the times it's actually like that. Like you most of the times you actually don't even have people around you. And on top of that, you feel lonely. And that's a lonely phase and lonely chapter. And I recorded a video, made some videos. I don't remember how many, maybe 2 so far. And I've uploaded it, and of course, some people were commenting, and I saw those comments, and a lot of people said, "When is this gonna end?" Because in the videos, I did say that this is gonna pass. It's not gonna last forever. The clouds will disappear above your head. It will move away. Right? At that moment, you feel like, oh my god, it's cloudy. There's no sun. Oh my god, I feel so fucking sad, and the mood is like, ugh. Right? But it will slowly pass away. And what happens afterwards, if it ran, so there was rain, there might be rainbow afterwards. So a lot of people commented and said that, I've been going through this my whole life. I'm like 25, 30, 40, whatever. There was one particular person I remember under a lot of my videos. He, or I'm assuming it was a guy, commented so many of negative comments saying that I can't take this anymore. I don't feel anything. I'm just depressed all the time. And I tried to, make few interactions, some comment a few things with him to try to cheer him up, but he was not taking it. And I saw other people also commented under his comments, trying to help him out, but he was just stuck at that place. So here's what I'm gonna say. Not to just him, to everybody. The reason why, if you feel like this loneliness, right, this lonely chapter, this lonely phase is not gonna go away, is because, of course, first of all, you've been in it for so long, you haven't seen the bright days. You don't know what it feels to be in that good place with good mood, good income, good health, good circle of friends, good amount of time spent with families. I don't know, just generally, you don't get anything that positive in your life for a very long time. You don't get those things where you put a smile on your face for a very long time. And so you don't think it's going to happen. People often make assumptions and predict. They like to do that because they want to seek the pattern. They want to recognize the pattern. They want to be able to see what happens so that they feel they are in control, which gives them a sense of security. People like to control, always. There's a certain degree to extent on different levels. But everyone likes to control, to make things go in their way. If you meet a person who is fine with things going wrong and stuff, that person is extremely mature. And if you want any advice, I would say that guy is that, or that girl, that person is the person that you want to go to whenever you have got some problems, because they would know what to do. Because they're not really controlling things; they just let things happen, and that's another healthy way of living your life. Because if you control everything, you're gonna be stressed out. You're gonna be anxious all the time. Because if one little thing goes wrong, your whole, I don't know, your mood for the entire day, entire week, maybe even month, it's gonna be ruined. Because you're focusing on so many things and you're focusing on controlling them. The less you want to control, the more relaxed you will be and the better life you will have. And when I say control, it's not the normal amount of control, like controlling your diet, controlling your amount of sleep, controlling the amount of exercise. That is normal. When I say, when I say like control, it's almost a little bit manipulative. You're manipulating things into your way, to go your way, even though it wasn't supposed to. But anyway, back to the topic of loneliness. I think I was a little bit off topic. So loneliness can exist for a very long period of time, and you're not gonna be able to see any light in your life. It's not guaranteed when that light will shine into your life. So you don't have hope. And most importantly, faith. I remember when I was in depression, when I was suffering from a lot of shit. I was, whenever, here's what went on in my head whenever something bad happened. And tell me if, you know, compare if this also is happening to you. Try to self reflect, critical thinking involved. So, whenever something bad happened, right, most of the times it was loneliness and stuff. I was like, I don't have anyone that I can talk to, and I feel lonely and blah blah blah. And that was a start. What happens afterwards was I start to remember, recollect all the bad things that happened to me in the past. And this is a natural thing because I remember when I was reading some article, some research was showing that if you're going through something, your brain will automatically, if that something is like what you're going through is something that is unexplainable, something that is new, that hasn't happened before, some kind of emotion, some kind of thinking, some kind of, I don't know, just something that happened that makes your brain think. And the brain does not know what to do. Because if it's the first time this has happened, the brain does not know what to do. What it does is it tries to compare, it tries to collect, it tries to go through the past and find some of the relatively similar events that happened to you in the past, which as a result, in those events, you felt somewhat similar the same way. I don't know, your chemicals in your brain were somewhat similar compared to what is happening right now. And so most of the times, if you're feeling something bad, something sad, something depressing, something new for the first time, so anything that is negative, that is new, your brain will automatically think of also the negative things that happened to you in the past because it was a similar feeling. So that your brain would know what to do. But what happens is that this is not a way to feel better because what happens is you are adding more fuel to the fire. You're gonna feel worse because you look back and then this is like also subconscious. Like this is not active thoughts. You just kind of passively doing this. To a certain degree, it works differently for everyone, but I can say that if you know how to, if you are conscious about this, what you're doing. So every single time when something bad happens, if you are conscious about this, you will force yourself to break out of that loop because this is a vicious cycle. This is a vicious cycle. If you think negative things, you will never stop thinking negative things. You will keep on going and keep on going until there are two options. First, you kind of just, I don't know, with time, you feel better, right? Nothing bad has happened for a while, so slowly, you are slowly sliding outside of that circle. Slowly. Or the second one, you break out of it. You are conscious about what you're thinking, what you're doing, and you're able to control it, control your emotions. That is the most crucial and beneficial thing you can ever learn in your entire life. Because once you manage to control your emotions, you're gonna achieve great things in many areas. Okay? Most common things, most basic things you can think of is business. People need to control their emotions. The successful entrepreneurs need to control their emotions because whenever they fail, they're not gonna let their emotions win and tell them, you know what, I'm not destined for this, maybe this is not it, I'm not gonna quit. No. They let themselves, not their emotion, themselves, the real person, they come out and say, okay, I failed. Control the emotions. This is normal. I want to move on to my next plan or my next strategy or my next move to help or to solve this problem, to improve, you know, the statistics or whatever. So, okay, I'm a little bit off topic, but loneliness is always gonna be with you. It's always going to be with you for your entire life. But there will be phases and there will be times when you're not going to be alone. You're going to marry, you're going to have a family, or you're going to find a partner, or you generally just have some really lovely friends. And so there will be times you're not going to feel lonely, but loneliness, as I said, it would be there. Sometimes it would sneak around, sneak up on you, right? Sneak up on you. Damn, my English is bad. Uh, it's gonna creep on you sometimes, and it could hit you just like that out of nowhere. And the worst part is, again, you don't know how long it's gonna last. So if you're in that position, in that place where you don't know what to do, and you feel lonely and lonely and lonely for years, decades maybe, here's what I will advise you to do. And this works for everyone, okay? First, you get 6 apps. Now, bear with me. The reason why I say that is because you need to work on yourself. And what happens is that after you work on yourself, you will start to see progress. And progress, I mean, there will be new people entering your life. You will gain new knowledge. You have a better health, which is the most important thing. And most importantly, you will start to increase your confidence and self-esteem. And that is the most important part, because once you have that, whenever you felt alone, or lonely, you can immediately, like, whenever that happens, you immediately jump out of it. You say that, no, it's fine. This is just a phase. I'm gonna be fine. That confidence that you gain from working out is gonna slowly transform into something that's more protective of your mind and soul, because you're gonna think positively. You're gonna transform it into something that is like generally raw positive energy. So whenever bad things happen, because they do happen, and that raw positive energy has been transformed from the confidence you gained from working out, is gonna protect you from those negative stuff. Because you're gonna be like, this kind of sucks, right? But then later you're gonna be like, but I'm gonna be able to get through it. Because that confidence also boosted that confidence that you have, and you believe in yourself. That is the most important part. Confidence will slowly transform into that raw positive energy, and it will slowly if you allow it, it will slowly turn into belief. You believe in yourself. And working out also helps with belief. And the reason why is because once you start to see results, you see that you can accomplish things, you can do things. And that sort of, again, confidence will turn into a belief. Believing, because you already see that you can do things. So when you are doing other things, not necessarily in terms of like working out, but generally things, you will say that, you know what, I've done this before, I can do this as well. So first advice, get a 6 app, and the 6 app is centered. I mean, in generally, I would say get a very can't speak, aesthetic body physique, very aesthetic body physique. That, I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm aiming for, I don't know. I'm aiming for this anime character called Toji Fushiguro. It's in Jujutsu Kaisen. His body physique, I mean, a lot of guys want that. But it's extremely hard to achieve. It would take, I mean, even with good genetics, good diet, good training, it would take probably years to get there. But I'm still gonna do it because I believe I can do it. And that's the most important part. So, first of all, get a good body physique. If you're feeling lonely, I know this doesn't really correlate, it doesn't relate to each other exactly, but trust me, once you start doing it, that loneliness that you feel, it's gonna slowly go away. Or it's gonna be there, but you're gonna be able to get out of that vicious cycle that I talked about before. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and this is quite wide range of solutions being squeezed into one, because there's not a really exact way to do this. Improve your mental health. Now, like I said, it's not really exact way. There's not one or two or three or 10 or 100. There are many, many ways, and it works differently for everyone. I would say, of course, if you have access to therapy, you can go through it. But I prefer naturally. And this definitely involves and takes a lot of, it requires a lot of strength in terms of your mind, your thoughts, your capability to control, to suppress your emotions. This is needed, right? So if you don't have these, or you don't think you're gonna do it, you don't believe that you're gonna do it, which, that belief comes from the first step. So do that first. The second step is this, right? If you're in a place where you're like, oh my god, fucking hell, I can't think positively, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm gonna give you two advice. One is, if you think you can't do this, you go to therapy. It's an easy way out. But it's not the most effective way. And I tell you why. Because most of these therapists will put you on drugs. And those drugs, think about it. If you think not pure science, just logical stuff, artificial things that you put in your body, do you think it's going to be actually helping you? There's not going to be any side effect? No bad things are going to happen to your body? Artificial things. Nature gives us all these ingredients naturally, and we're supposed to take them naturally. But of course, with the evolution of agriculture, society, and cultural norms and everything else, things have changed, of course. But if you look back like hundreds and thousands of years, people, like, there was no technology. There was no all these manufacture of pills. So these pills are not going to be extremely helpful for you. I mean, it might be helpful for a short-term effect, but what has to happen, which is the second thing, or the second advice I'm going to give you, is you defeating it internally. What I mean by that is you slowly build your mental strength. So you block anything that is negative. Whenever something bad happens, you're able to control it, control emotions, control the situation. And you're going to be able to get through it. And once you get through it, that's going to be a new journey for you. Because once you get through even one negative experience, one negative event, you're going to be like, oh, so it was that easy to just stop feeling depressed, to stop thinking about all these negative emotions. And I know at this point, a lot of people are going to be like, but you don't understand depression. You don't know how I feel. If you keep comparing yourself to others because you say, you don't know how I feel. You sure? You sure the person that stands in front of you or sit in a wheelchair in front of you hasn't gone through any mental problems? and yet they have a smile on their face. They're still working. They're still doing shit. Do you think they haven't gone through any problems in their life? Everyone does. The difference between people is their approach, their way of dealing with the problem. They don't want to. Some people just want to use this as an excuse because they can get away with things. Oh, I haven't done my assignment because I felt depressed. I was taking drugs and I felt depressed. I almost, you know, ended myself or whatever because I was depressed. Now, of course, it is a state. It is factual that this exists. I'm not saying that depression doesn't exist. It does. But you shouldn't let the fact that it exists to defeat you. Because a lot of people just let it be. Be like, they'd be like, I got depression. It is what it is. I'm not gonna work. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not. Well, guess what? Once you fall, you're not gonna stop falling. Once you really like start falling, you're not gonna stop unless you do something about it. Unless you use like 200% of your effort, your mental strength to get over that obstacle, to stop yourself from falling. And then you're gonna use another 200% to get yourself up. And this process is what you need in order to get over this loneliness, depression, mental problems, anything that you have that is negative, in life. And this is what you need. So, as summary, to sum all of this, right? Sum it up. Loneliness is, I would say, rather a test. A test to see how much you've got in you, how much strength you've got in you. Because it takes sheer will, like sheer fucking will. Will? Will. Not the will, but will. To get through all these shit. And believe me, it took me a very long time to get through all of this. And even now, I'm sometimes suffering. I'm still at that lonely phase where I don't have people that I can talk to. I have only maybe two people outside my parents, or my families. And when it comes to family, I only got my parents because I'm far away from home. All my, I don't know, grandparents, uncles, cousins, whatever, they're all back in homeland. So I'm also kind of the only families I got are my parents here. And in terms of friends, not really. Just two people I can maybe, when I got problems, I can trust and I can talk to. But we don't communicate because we've got our separate lives. And our ideas when it comes to things are not really exactly the same. So it's not that easy to make conversation as well. But they're good friends of mine, very good friends of mine. But I'm not, definitely this is a lonely phase for me where, I go on a daily basis where I don't have any notifications. I mean, for like weeks, I don't get any messages from anyone. Like that's I mean, in terms of like people I actually know, right? Sometimes a few I get some DM requests for people, and they will be like, "Thank you for making all this content because they actually help me," and I was like, really really nice, and I'm very glad to see that. But to make actual conversation with people that I know, not that much. So this is a thing. It's a lonely phase. And what you need to do, okay, sum everything up. Everything that I've talked about. Simple. Work on yourself. Focus on yourself, not the problem. You focus on what you need to do to get better in terms of health, wealth. What's the last one? Relationship. You figure out, and I'm gonna help you how to do this. Read books. Books are the only. I don't care if you got ADHD or this dyslexia. I've got both of these. Fuck it, I could take 5 to 7 minutes to read one page. One page. Normal people would take average like 1.7 minutes or something like that. So for me, it takes like twice or three times of effort to read that shit. But I'm still doing it because it is beneficial for you. Read those books talking about human nature, human psychology, wealth as well, and you're gonna slowly improve your life. Because knowledge will also create and build up that confidence we talked about. And remember, the confidence is gonna slowly transform into raw positive energy, and you're gonna have more belief, and that's how you create a positive cycle. So that's the most important thing. To be honest, going to the therapist and taking drugs and everything, I'm not an expert on that. I just don't like the way that thinking that, because this is logical. Even when you gave me all the science behind the drugs it gave you, like what it does, to block the receptors, this receptors, and adapt this receptors in your brain, it's still artificial. It's not supposed to be like this. It's not natural. Anything that is against the natural law of life, there's always going to be downside. There's always going to be side effect. There's always going to be some negative consequences. Always. So if you can, and if you believe, you think that you are gonna fucking own this shit, you are the main character of your life, you think you're gonna get through it, try without the drugs. Maybe go to therapy, yeah, but try without the drugs. Honestly, therapy I wouldn't even recommend because they're just telling you that it's okay to feel like this. It's not. It's not. It's not okay to feel depression. From time to time, you need to embrace your emotions. That's for sure. That's true, because you can't avoid it. You can't escape from it. But you definitely need to get over the fact that it is not okay. So to sum it up, that's. I mean, I don't know how I got here talking about depression when I started talking about loneliness, but hey, that's how we talk. That's how we give out advice, because there's not only one specific area. It's all connected. Life is all connected. Everything. You just need to know how to navigate yourself through this endless maze. Or at least it seems endless for now because you're suffering. But once you find the exit, the next maze is going to be a lot easier. So, yeah, that's it for this video. If you got any questions, if you got any further problems you'd like me to kind of share my opinions on, do drop a comment down below.